Roles and importance of agriculture in national, regional, and international economics. So we are looking at the benefits of agriculture now. So one, of course, it provides foreign exchange. Two, it contributes to gross domestic product. It also contributes to gross national product. It facilitates food security. And of course, it provides employment. And of course, it promotes trade liberalization. When we move on, we'll get into detail with each of these advantages. So we are basically looking at the advantages. But before we go on to the advantages in detail, there are four terms that I'd like to define. First one is business. So of course, a business is a commercial activity. It's an activity where you are buying and selling of goods and services. National, when it speaks of national, it means of a specific country. So, for example, Jamaica. When we speak about Jamaica on a whole, it is a national level. Within Jamaica alone, we're speaking on a national level. Regional means between countries that are close, so it could be more than one country in the same region, such as the Caribbean countries. So the Caribbean would be described as being regional. The international level would be global, all these countries in the world. Alright, so advantage number one, as I mentioned, we have foreign exchange earnings. So, of course, if you practice agriculture, the excess or surplus can be exported to other countries, and they in turn will purchase those goods, and we will gain their money. And of course, their money has more power. It has more value than our money, as we in Jamaica now, right? So we earn that extra money. We will be able to facilitate our business better, and of course the economy on a whole, because we have more money coming into the country, and more money now is being spent or can be spent in our country to facilitate more business, more buying and selling, and so forth, make our country better. Alright, let's move on. Number two, it contributes to gross domestic product. So, of course, in short, the gross domestic product is the total amount of goods that is produced within a country. So, we are in Jamaica. All our production comes from many sectors, like the mining sector, they produce minerals, bauxite. Agriculture produce crops and animals and so forth. So agriculture add to that aspect of production within a country. It actually helps to solve some of our needs as a people, our food needs, or raw material needs, and so forth. That is very important, because what that means is that we have the economy being developed. It means we have agricultural activities being practiced in our country, and that is good. We can provide jobs locally from agriculture. But importantly, when we speak about gross domestic product, it does not involve imports or foreign exchange. Alright, that's key importance for you to remember. Alright, on the other hand, with gross national product, it speaks about all production within a country, and of course, as I said, agriculture is one of the sectors, but it also involves all the foreign exchange earnings. So when a country is calculating, when the country is calculating gross national product, they will calculate or add into it the foreign exchange earnings. Alright, and that is very, very important. It means not only that we are producing in our country, but we are also exporting and getting money from abroad in our economy, in our country. Okay? Alright, the third advantage is food security. And what that means is that we as a country we need to have food in our country so our people can have access to food and hence prevent starvation. Food security here means having enough food in a country, and of course these foods should be nutritious. They should be nutrient balanced to prevent the diseases that can be developed from lack of food. Alright, so agriculture plays a significant role in food security. Alright, number 4, good employment ratio of imported food to local produce. Alright, so what that means is that once we are producing in our country, we will be able to import less. And not only, once we are producing in our country, we can provide employment in our country. So agriculture as a whole, it helps to provide employment within our country and exclude some importing. What importation means is that we will purchase our goods from abroad. So for example, if the country is lacking in pork, for example, or beef, because the country don't want to be forced in lack of food, it will purchase that extra meat or food overseas. So what that means is that our money will be going overseas. Right? What that means is that we are not producing enough locally. So what agriculture helps to do is to help us to produce more locally. It's a sector whereby we can produce more locally and do less importation. Because what happens if business persons can get these goods abroad, they will go ahead and purchase. That's the reality. If they see where they can purchase these goods overseas and take it back in our country and sell it to make a profit, they will do it. They will not cater to the farmers here. Alright? So individually, agriculture needs to be promoted and practiced in our country, in our own country. Because the business persons, they are just trying to make a profit, and hence we will have competition abroad. Persons abroad, other countries will sell to our country because they too want money. Alright. The next advantage is trade liberalization. And what that means is that different countries will come together and they will make agreements on tax deduction, for example. Now, what agriculture does is that once we are producing, then we will be able to negotiate with another country, right? If we are not producing, we will not be able to negotiate with another country because we have to have something that that country wants. And once we are producing, then we will be able to negotiate with other countries that we don't want to pay any tax on certain goods. So what happens if we're not paying tax to purchase goods from another country? The thing is that these goods can be sold at a lower price to our people in our country, right? So when we produce, it's good for our country. We can negotiate with other countries to lower our taxes, to relieve us of certain rules and quotas and so forth. That would normally injure us trading with other countries. Alright, without further ado, let us move to the challenges confronting agriculture. Of course, especially in the Caribbean, Jamaica, for example, we face a lot of challenges. Alright, so here is a list of all the challenges that we will look at. So climate and topography, lack of appropriate technology, lack of rural infrastructure, lack of extension services, predator larceny, land tenure systems, sustainable agricultural practice or lack of sustainable agricultural practice, environmental issues, food safety, natural disaster, gender issues. Alright, we're going to look at most of these in detail where you get the definition and the explanation. And just a brief reminder, students, this is designed for you to take your notes and also to listen to the explanation. Alright. Some other major current issues that could affect agriculture are biodiversity destruction, global warming, bioterrorism, lack of food security, environmental degradation. Right? Alright, so let's go right into the climate. So climate is the weather condition over a period of time. And what that means is that you will have seasons such as dry seasons, such as like droughts. And of course you have like your wet seasons. And you have a lot of rain. Now, when you have seasons like this, those are problems because dry time would mean lack of water. And you know agriculture cannot function properly without water. So that is a problem. Especially in underdeveloped countries where the water we can hardly get water. Sometimes we get water once per week, and that is a big issue for the farmers in agriculture. Sometimes they have to purchase water, and there's a lack of enough canals and dams. There's just lack of development overall to deal with these climatic conditions. The wet condition is also another issue. A lot of rain damage plant leaves, and then you have more pests and disease attacking our plants. Alright? That's also another problem because especially these Caribbean countries, we don't make our own pesticides. Right? And what that does is we have to be purchasing those pesticides at a very expensive rate or cost. So it's a big problem for us. Our countries, they are underdeveloped. We are not producing enough chemicals to deal with these pests and diseases, or we can even the materials like greenhouse UV plastics, they are so expensive. The sustainable farmers, they hardly can really purchase some of these technologies. Alright, so there are much more to be done in our country, especially the Caribbean. Alright, topography. As you know, we are in the Caribbean, we have a lot of hilly lands, right? And most of the small farmers, they have hilly lands because the flatter lands that are more suitable for agriculture, they are owned by people with more money, people who can afford them, right? So what happened is that these hill lands pose a problem because you cannot get to do good agriculture in terms of commercial farming. You have to spend a lot of money. If you're going to try to mechanize the hilly lands, it would be difficult for you. To get a road to go on the hill land, it would be difficult. Alright, hill lands, they are exposed to soil erosion. So what it means, if you plow the land, more than likely you will encourage soil erosion. Nutrients will be lost, and the farmers have to be constantly purchasing fertilizers to get this crop up to par. Alright, flatland, on the other hand, those are more suitable. They can accommodate machine and they are more fertile than the hillands. Alright, lack of rural infrastructure is a problem. So we have rural infrastructure, but lack of infrastructure development. Right? So infrastructure, those are the basic services and infrastructures that a country should have, such as like your roads, your canals, your dams, your transportation system, your water system. Alright, in agriculture, we have a lack of these in our country, especially here in Jamaica. The roads are not good, we don't have enough dams, we don't have enough canals. For more than 30 years, we have the same water issue. From when I was a child, we have a water issue, and even now we have the same water issue. We have, these underdevelopment is costing us, especially in agriculture. We really need that development, alright? So the more infrastructure we have, the better we will be able to compete, because we have to understand that we compete from countries abroad. Our businessmen here in Jamaica, they will not wait on us here in Jamaica, the farmers here, to produce. If they find out that the country is lacking in produce, they will purchase it abroad. That's how it goes. So we are in globalization, alright? They will not wait. We need development in these areas. Alright, lack of extension services personnel. So of course, there are not enough people working with the government to actually inform the farmers and train them. Right? Of course, we have extension officers who work with RADA and many more, but there are persons who still do not know these extension officers. We need more constant training, more certification. We need those persons who are paid to do so, to make it mandatory to reach out to the people, alright, and inform them, teach them, and educate more people. We really lack this service, even though we have persons in this field. We do lack the persons with the drive, persons with the urge to educate and train. Persons have these jobs, but they are not reaching out. Sometimes you don't know them. Alright? Nonetheless, let's move on. Alright, predial larceny. Of course, stealing is a big factor in agriculture. It discourages a lot of farmers. It set them back in life, and they will not really want to go in farming. And sometimes persons with the money and the capital, the resources, they are afraid because of predial larceny, stealing. Land tenure system means how land is owned. Now in Jamaica, people can own land by land being willed or passed on from family down to family. Alright? People can purchase land, some extent people capture land. Alright, but what happened with when land is inherited is that persons that inherit land, because persons have more than one sibling children, the land end up splitting and getting smaller and smaller. And so when the land is so small, it will not be able to accommodate a lot of agriculture. It's not enough to accommodate the house and more so agriculture. So that's a problem. So what the government can do really is to secure land specifically for agriculture. We know the best lands, they are purchased by people by persons who have the money, persons who have the privilege. Some of these lands, they are not owned by Jamaicans, they are owned by colonizers' family. They are the best land, and we still have some of those family members who own these lands. And people have the money to own the lands, and that's a big problem. The government has to protect these lands, right? Other persons come in from other countries, and they are owning the best lands. The government can really protect these lands for farmers. Alright, loss of agricultural lands. Of course, as I mentioned, the good agricultural lands, they are now being used to make hotels and so forth, housing schemes and so forth. We need to protect these lands. We need rules and regulation from the legislation authorities to protect more of these lands. Alright, lack of sustainable agriculture, meaning a lot of persons not doing agriculture to feed themselves. We need more of that. At least every home should have a small garden. You could plant some cabbage, don't have to be a lot, some pop choys, don't have to be a lot. You now can do container farming. Even you can farm on your veranda, on your rooftop. We need more of these type of farming, right? Environmental issues. We have environmental issues like soil erosion, landslide, because agriculture is dangerous to agriculture. Because when you clear the land, you are actually exposing the soil to the land clearance, to the rain. You're exposing the land to soil erosion, basically, because when you clear the land of this country, the soil will get loose. When you plow the land, the soil will get loose, and it is easily blown and washed out. Alright, because we have to also clear the land, we clear plants, what happened? We destroy the ecosystem, we destroy the habitats for organisms. The use of pesticides what will happen? We destroy good organisms. So overall, we have a lot of pollution because of agriculture, and a lot of, as you can see, loss of biodiversity as well. Lack of food security, as I said, that's a problem. We're not having enough food in our country. Most of our food, they are imported. And what happens when we import food? It's causing a problem. The seeds, when we import the seeds, some of these diseases and pests, they lodge in the seeds. Now when we have these new diseases, the thing is, we as a country, we are not making the difference. So what happened? We purchase from abroad, we bring in pests and diseases as well. And what happened? We don't produce all the chemicals. So as you can see, there is a big problem. You have to be purchasing chemical. All that expense will drain us. You will still not be able to produce the amount that we could produce because of the high input cost. Right? Big problem. Natural disaster, of course, that is a problem. We speak about the storm, right? You know, farmers, they are exposed to a lot of damage, and of course they have to have money to repair, especially their greenhouse, to plant back their crops. Some farmers are flooded. Some farmers, their farms are flooded out and so forth. They are exposed to a big loss, and sometimes it's difficult for them to regain or to rejuvenate or restart. Bioterrorism, this is when organisms are used to attack another country. So one country uses microorganisms to attack another country, especially when it comes on to livestock and crops. Alright, before we go into support services, I want to go back to some of the potential challenges here. Of course, biodiversity means all the different organisms, all living things living together, all the different living things. So what happened, agriculture, as I mentioned already, destroys all those different living things. Global warming means the earth, the more we remove our plants, the more chemicals we use. What happens is that the earth, the temperature on the earth is getting hotter, and when the temperature on earth increases, we have more droughts, and that's a big problem. Alright, so I just wanted to define and explain those two issues. Alright, let's move back to the support services. Alright, so the support services, of course, these are institutions that are put in place to help the development of agriculture. For example, like RADA. Alright, so they are put in place to help develop agriculture. So we're going to look at a few of them. Okay, they are categorized into local, regional, and international. Now you remember when we defined those terms earlier. Alright, so local is like the Ministry of Agriculture. Alright, in our country, RADA would be a local as well. Alright, regional, as I said, the Caribbean. Examples would be Caribbean Community like CARICOM, the Caribbean Food and Nutrition Institute, CDB, which is the bank, CARDI, which is a research institute. You have the University of the West Indies, College of Agriculture. You have Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry. You have Guyana School of Agriculture, UA, again in Trinidad, Macalva, Sydney, Pagan, Art Academy. And international, just a few of them. You have European Union, Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. So we have a few of them, and we're going to just look at a few of them. So the University of the West Indies, it offers program in agriculture, and what that means, it helps to educate people about agriculture. Alright, it provides training for them and certification, which is the same thing as the College of Agriculture Science and Education in Portland, Jamaica. Alright, what these institutions do, they pass on information. That's their input. Oh, there are other international programs here. We have the World Food Program, We have the International Fund for Agriculture Development, Food and Agriculture Organization. These are international. The Caribbean Community, which is a regional. I'm just going to look at about two of them, or three of them in detail. So, as you know, it was developed in May 1973. It replaces CARIFLA. Of course, countries that are a part of this community are Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, Antigua, etc. And their purpose is basically to eliminate duties, right? So you can trade with these countries. So these countries trade with one another, and they don't charge extra tax on the goods that they trade. That's a big benefit from the CARICOM. Alright, the Caribbean Food and Nutrition Institute, it is established in 1967. UWI Jamaica is the headquarters. And of course, what it does is to provide education material and food security and health. So what they try to do is to make sure a country has all nutritious food for its people. They try to prevent all the diseases that can develop from lack of food. Alright, so that's their purpose. They function is to the health section. And the Caribbean Development Bank, which headquarters in Barbados, as you know, this bank, they provide a lot of loan. They provide money and fund projects. Alright, that's their main function. Alright, and last but not least, we're going to look at just a few careers in agriculture. And the reason for doing this is that we need to understand, you students, you need to understand that agriculture is not just production, where you have a farmer go and till the soil and plant crops. There are many, many, many more careers in agriculture, and what I'm going to do now is just expose you to some of them, so you can go and do your own research. Alright, so we have the categories. You have the sale category, the service, the marketing, the production. So of course, when I mentioned the farming, I'm speaking about the production aspect. You have the education aspect, like the agriculture science teacher. You have the agro-processing section, which speak about like the factories, the manufacturers that turn the goods, the raw produce, the products, like Grace Kennedy, those factories, alright? We have certification department, the journalism, the engineering departments, our category, administration, management, quality control, food inspection. So take some time and research, ask questions. You have a lot of job opportunities. So those are the careers. So as you can see, many different jobs under each category. So the sale, you have a farm store, you sell chemical, you sell, right? The service area, artificial insemination operator, bank consultant, economist. The marketing aspect means how you get your produce to sell. You have the marketing specialist, the advertising analyst. There are many jobs you can see. The production, as I mentioned, you have the dairy farmer, the vegetable farmer, the aquaculture farmer. Education, you have the nutritionist, the teacher, you have the lecturer, etc. And there are just many more. You can take your notes. I said this video is for you to take your notes. Alright? And that is the end of the lesson.